back yesterday from seeing Inception at the IMAX in Southampton, down in the south of England. For those that don't live in England, when it comes to Christopher Nolan movies, one thing that is consistent with Christopher Nolan is he's like the complete antithesis of people like Michael Bay. In order not to get audiences to be bored, adding needless action sequences just to kind of pander to that kiddie audience. That's not something that Christopher Nolan does. Recently, all of his movies so far have been 12, since Batman have been 12 rated. It doesn't mean that they're for kids. You know, they are very much aimed at an intelligent adult audience. Inception not only treats its audience like adults, it's just refreshing to see that it's completely original down to literally everything. There hasn't been a movie this original in the cinema since The Matrix back in 1999. Now that was 11 years ago. It just shows what a sad state, especially in this day and age where, you know, they've recast the Incredible Hulk for the Avengers movie. They're remaking every horror movie under the sun. Thank you, Platinum Dreams, for fucking those up. Everything's a reboot, a sequel, you know, an adaptation from something based on an established name. The thing that would be really good for Inception is for it to make a lot of money. It might be a wake-up call for Hollywood to kind of sit there and realise, hang a minute, we don't need a reboot of Spider-Man. I'm still buzzing from the excitement as to how good Inception was. There will be some plot details in this review. I'm not going to tell you if anyone dies. I'm not going to tell you any major plot developments as such. I'm just going to give you bog standard facts. It is worth going into Inception with knowing as little as possible. Basic premise. Leonardo DiCaprio plays a guy by the name of Dom Cobb, but he is what is known as an instructor. He's the best in the business, and he uses this technology to do corporate espionage, but in doing so he goes physically into the subconscious of his target. What everyone is in agreement with is that extraction is far easier than Inception. Inception is the implanting of an idea into someone's brain. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, that's the guy. He plays Arthur, who is, you know, like Leonardo DiCaprio's second-hand man. Arthur goes on to explain the person's head that you're planting the idea into is very much aware that they are the ones that came up with it. So it's fooling their subconscious into thinking that they've come up with the idea. He's able to perform Inception upon their chosen target for reasons I won't divulge into why they've picked this particular target. What happens is he gets this crack team together and they're basically able to formulate this. They have to go in as deep as possible, which is literally dreams within dreams, within dreams, within dreams, within their target subconscious. The things I really like about Inception is, I mean, just the general idea I think is fantastic. The film is 2.5 hours long. Like The Dark Knight, it doesn't feel like it. The first hour is Leonardo DiCaprio getting his team together. He's got to have his point man, which is Arthur, which is like his right hand man. He needs to have an architect, which is someone who literally builds the dreamscape. He has someone called Forger, and then they've got the Asian guy from Drag Me to Hell. Develops the sedative that will keep them asleep for such an extended period of time in order for them to go so deep into the target's subconscious. First hour is spent setting up the initial rules. Why you can't do this, why you can't do that. They say you can't recreate from your own. The architects cannot recreate from their own memory because it's too easy to lose your grip on what is real and what isn't. One thing they also establish is that 5 minutes in the normal world equates to about an hour in the dream world, and when you're doing dreams within dreams, it extends. Basically, they're on a 10-hour flight to do this job. In that 10 hours, it will equate to a week within the first dream, and then in the next dream it will be 6 months, and then that dream within that dream it will be 10 years, and so on and so forth. So the gaps increase exponentially. Whatever happens that could be construed as instantaneous. For example, if someone drops something and the time it takes for that thing to drop to the floor in the first dream will literally be about 20 minutes in the second dream. The way they have set out the universe of Inception is nigh on just... It's just breathtaking. Woe betide the person that decides to go for a pee halfway through the film. You miss 2 minutes of this film, you are going to be lost completely. It effectively asks the audience to just keep up. And in this day and age where you're getting rubbish movies like Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, it's refreshing to see a director who doesn't doesn't sense that his audience, he wants his audiences to think. I mean, that is what cinema should be about. It's escapism. But at the same time, you have to think about it. During one moment in the first dream, when the rest of the people are in the back of this van and they're all asleep and they're in their dream within a dream, the van topples off the road and starts going down this hill. That's obviously quite a fast process. But in the dream within the dream, that's the bit where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's having that weird, trippy thing that you've seen in the trailer, where he's having the fight with the guy in the corridor, and the gravity keeps changing. But because the time frame is so much slower, although it's going in the van when they're asleep, in the subsequent dream within that dream, it's much slower. So, it's tipping like this, and which is why when they're fighting, they're literally falling over each other and going on, the gravity changes to being on a wall and then onto the ceiling, and then suddenly, it will suddenly flip that way, and then, that's when you see someone falling straight down the corridor. They have this thing called a kick, where basically, to wake up, it's that sense of falling, as if someone pushes you, topples you over. That sense of falling, it jolts you out of the dream. In order to get out of the really deep state, you've got to get kicked out in the third state, and it's all got to happen one after the other. So there's a rather tense moment at the end where you realise that they're reaching the end of their tether because something in the original dream is happening far too quickly for them to be able to get the job done. So they've got to get everything speedily done in these 4 different states of consciousness, and then they've got to judge to wake up from that dream, and then suddenly to get a kick and get out of that dream, and then out of that dream, and then out of that dream. The fact that a guy has sat down and thought about the logistics of what it would be like to not just be in a dream, but to be in a dream within a dream is just absolutely staggering, and you just have to stand up and applaud sometimes in terms of how thought out the logistics of the entire plot has been. The performances are absolutely outstanding for a summer blockbuster movie. I mean, these are just Oscar-worthy. Leonardo DiCaprio has probably given his best performance ever. When he's doing his really serious stuff, like The Departed and Blood Diamond and stuff, it's kind of one of those ones where you're like, hey, look, I'm acting, I'm being really serious, I'm doing really good acting work. The thing is with Inception it's one of those ones where you don't really notice that he is doing acting. For a summer blockbuster, it's one of the most naturalistic performances I've ever seen. Nolan is so invested in this world, and he's deliberately made it such a believable world that you just buy into everything. It's established the rules, it's established that this technology to do this exists, and it plays it close to the bone. The entire last half of the movie, so we're talking about, well over an hour of the movie is dedicated to the heist. They're setting up everything in one dream, they're then going into the next dream to set up everything that needs to go into the subsequent dream, and then everything to, so it's all build up into something bigger, but in building it up, it is probably, it is an hour and a half extended set piece that builds to this almighty climax at the end. Once everything has ended, you are left with such a wave of satisfaction. As soon as the film finishes, you want to watch it again. You kind of need to see it again to get everything in, because like I said, the plot is dense as hell. There is so much to take in. It doesn't treat people like idiots. It doesn't treat its audience as if they're stupid. It doesn't feel the need to kind of sit there and go, oh, this is happening because this, and this. It doesn't sacrifice its integrity either. It sticks very much to its guns, despite the fact that it is delivering these enormous set pieces. The fact that someone has been able to orchestrate something so complex yet so gratifying and so rewarding is just worthy of every heap of praise. There was a small round of applause at the end. One of the best summer blockbusters ever made. I am very much looking forward to seeing it again, and I will be seeing it again either tonight or tomorrow. Everything about it is just absolutely flawless. I honestly cannot pick a single thing wrong with that film at all. It deserves the highest 5 out of 5 I can ever give. It's one of those films where you just feel like high-fiving strangers on the bus just because of how good it was. Go out and see it. It is, without a doubt, Christopher Nolan's undisputed masterpiece. Cheers.